Hello loyal subjects, today we are here to talk about Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Throne of Glass series and I finally got around to reading it and I loved it. It was so much fun. I am so excited for the rest of this series. There's gonna be 6 books, 3 are out right now. Oh my god. If you do not know, and I would be very surprised if you didn't, this book follows a girl named Celaena Sardothian, and she is the most renowned assassin in the world. But she was captured and put in a death camp for a year, until one day the prince shows up and he offers her a proposition. He says that he will sponsor her to be his champion in a contest that the king is hosting to kind of have his own personal assassin. So Celaena, not really having any other choice, agrees and he takes her to the castle where she is to partake in a series of tests and the story kind of goes off from there. This was such a great young adult fantasy book. It took me a little while for me to completely get into it. Although I was really interested in the characters and the story at first, some of the writing at the beginning was kind of dodgy and the fact that the chapters were so short kind of threw me off a bit at the start because why is it taking 3 chapters to finish off one scene, you know? Also, the romance aspect kind of annoyed me at first, but now I'm very invested in it. So if you have not read this book, I would say go read it and then come back and we can talk about it, okay? Alright. See ya. So going into this book, I knew that there was a love triangle and immediately we know the love triangle is going to be between Celaena, Dorian and Chaol. This was more a book solely focused around Dorian and Celaena in the romance aspect, and I enjoyed watching their relationship kind of progress because right off the bat they have this really snarky, witty, funny banter. They really enjoy each other's company and I started to really like them as a couple. But I did feel that Dorian was putting a lot more into this relationship than Celaena was. He was just chucking in real fast and I was like, whoa man, put the brakes on, step back a minute, you know, look at the situation. So I was kind of happy when Celaena broke it off at the end because they aren't really in the position to be in a relationship right now. And then we've got Chaol, and Chaol kind of fits more into this mentor kind of role, helping to train her. He's overseeing all of her progress in the competition. He was a lot more kind of stoic and professional than Dorian, who was really jokey and flouncy. Out of the two, I would definitely say that I prefer Dorian, just because he fits my bill for what I like in my characters. I like that kind of arrogance and that witty intelligence. I think he's got a while to go before he reaches his full potential, but I think that's definitely going to be realised over the course of the next few books. The way that it left off between them, I definitely think the king is going to send Dorian out to fight in the army and he's going to become more of this princely figure that he doesn't really want anything to do with. I think he's going to realise the change that needs to happen because we saw parts of it in here, kind of some flares of him standing up and opposing his father, but not enough for him to be the driving force in this revolution. He needs a spark of Nehemia in there. And I think that while Dorian is gone, that's going to give Chaol and Celaena's relationship time to progress. Because right now there isn't a whole lot of romantic tension between the two. Now, Celaena herself is such a boss-ass bitch. She is such a great main character. She's everything you could want in a protagonist. She is strong, she is funny, she is smart, she is just all of these things. She doesn't take no shit from nobody, but that doesn't mean that she's reckless. And I just loved reading from her perspective. It was so refreshing to get such a confident main character who really believed in themselves and their abilities. I think she made this reading experience so much better for me. So thank you, Sarah J. Maas, for writing a character like Celaena. Another thing I really appreciated in this book was her friendship with Nehemia. I always like seeing female friendships, people who support each other and, you know, are always there for each other in times of need. And I feel like they offered each other both something that was lacking from everybody else around them. And even though Chaol and Dorian were there for her, they just didn't understand her in the way that Nehemia could. Moving on to the plot itself, I thought that the challenges were really fun to read about. The first one, the archery, was cool, but when we get to the next one, scaling the castle wall, that was quite the heart pounder. At first I was kind of suspicious of Knox because he seemed too nice. I definitely thought he was up to something, but when it turned out he wasn't, I was happy. I was surprised that he was just allowed to go free. I mean, I get that he was only a thief and not a murderer, so I guess whatever camp thing he came from was not as brutal as Endovia. I definitely think Knox is going to make some appearance in future books. The whole thing with the champions dying, I definitely knew from the start it had to be Kane or Perrington or one of those guys, because we have all of these instances like Kane digging at the foot of the clock tower, the fact that he kept getting inhumanly stronger and stronger. I think it was so obvious that it was Kane that Sarah J. Maas tried to have times where she would try and convince people that, like, no, maybe it's Nehemia. No, it was Kane. That whole end battle with Kane was so stressful and so angering. I was so pissed. He kept saying things like, oh, this is the best you have to offer. God, you're such a fucking weakling. I'm like, shut up. You know she's been drugged. You know that you wouldn't stand a chance against her if she was at her full game. So shut the fuck up, Kane. Sorry, that just really pissed me off because Celaena is such a boss. She easily took down every opponent that she faced throughout the challenges, and then to have Kane kicking her around and shit was so... I'm glad Chaol ran you through with a sword, bitch. This king dude, he is bad news. He's gotta go. I think, like, we don't know what happened to all of those guards that went with him to this mysterious place. We don't even really know what he's been doing. We know he's messing around with dark magic because that was revealed when him and Perrington kind of revealed that they'd been giving Caltaine these headaches when I thought she was just a drug addict. Like, they've got these super weird black friendship rings that are obviously bad news, and I really thought Caltaine and Perrington were both gonna die at the end of this book. So, disappointment. They talked about giving Caltaine an offer she couldn't refuse. And I'm thinking that they're going to say, if you do what we ask you to, then you can marry Dorian. Which is frightening because Dorian is such a romantic, and I feel like if he were forced into an arranged marriage, he would do something crazy because he was so adamant about the fact that I will only ever marry for love. So that's a scary thought. When I thought that, I kept thinking these crazy theories like, what if him and Nehemia just get hitched or something so that Dorian doesn't have to marry someone else? And Celaena, that works because Celaena was talking to him saying like, you're a prince. What if you had to marry someone in order to form an alliance or stop a war? If him and Nehemia became a thing, they might be able to do something about this war. Just a thought. Just a thought. Because we know that Celaena and Dorian, they're not over. They will be back. Don't know when, don't know where, but they'll be back. book, we keep getting references to these magical powers or something to do with magic that Selena has. And at the end, Elena, the fairy queen, kind of reveals that Selena is her descendant. That is weird because we don't really know a whole lot about Selena's backstory. We know that her parents were killed when she was a kid. She was taken in by Arobin Hamail, who I definitely think is going to make an appearance at some point. We're going to meet like his guild of assassins, and they might have a part to play in this greater conflict that's going on. When I found that out, that she was descended from Elena, I thought, isn't that such a great reflection? Dorian and Selena would be like Gavin and Elena. Selena, Elena, you know, I mean, what is going on? Am I the only one seeing this? Come on, guys. So, predictions for what's going to happen in the later books. Dorian is going to have to go and realise his full potential as a player in this political game. Selena is the king's champion and she's going to be out and about, so I'm excited to see the rest of this world as opposed to just inside the castle. Shit's gonna go down with her and Kale. Dorian's demon child little brother is gonna come into it somehow, and shit with Caltane, the king, and Perrington is gonna occur, and Nehemia is gonna go on being a boss. So that's all I have to say for this book at the moment. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you next time. Bye.